I'll be teaching you guys exactly what you need to know before buying your next board, because there are a lot of fakes out there and a lot of people don't know that, and they look exactly like a real board but they're not. And there are some key points to a board that you need to know before buying it, and if they have any of these 3 points then you definitely could buy it, but if they do not, then avoid buying them at all costs. And a lot of kids nowadays don't know that there are boards out there that are fake. They just go to a store, they buy it, and they don't even know where it's made, who it's made by, or what country it's shipped from. So these are the key points that you need to know before buying a board. So what I have here are 3 boards. 1 is real and 2 are fake. And I'm going to give you guys a guideline of what you need to look at before actually buying the board. These are the 3 boards that I'll be showing you guys. The middle board, the blue ply board, is the real one, and the 2 on the outside are the fake ones. So I'll be using the middle board first to show you guys exactly what you need to look for when looking at a board. When looking at a board, let's say you're going to a store, the first thing you want to look for is over here, which is hard to see, but there's an imprint, and it has to be imprinted. It can't be a sticker, can't be anything. It has to be an imprint. So everything on this label tells you everything you need to know. So the first thing it says, handcrafted. So now you know that somebody actually put their hands on it and actually crafted it, and you know exactly by who. So what it says is handcrafted by PS Sticks. So PS Sticks is actually Professor Schmidt and his factory and where it's made. So you already know that it was handcrafted. So that means there was actually a person actually involved in this board making and actually put the time into it, because it's Professor Schmidt and everything he does is calculated, everything is done professionally. So you already know, the moment you see this, you already know it's a real board. And the next thing you might actually see is Paul Schmidt's signature underneath. Like for Plan B boards, they're actually his signature underneath or on top. You could definitely buy a board that has this label on it or his signature on it. Serial number PES 7228400. So what that stands for is the actual mold that they're using to make this board. Most of the time when you have this serial number, it means that they're putting a mold, that's the mold that they're using to make this board. And most of the time it's just going to be single press, because Paul Schmidt is very meticulous about his work. He want to make sure that every board is the same. If you have other board companies, they're probably just going to press 10 boards one on top of each other, and when that happens, all the wood is not going to be the same. You're going to have different types of wood. You may have wood that isn't even actually pressed all the way together on the side. When it's not pressed all the way together on the side, then the wood's going to come apart. It's not going to be as strong. Next is, where is it made? This is very important. You have to know where the board is made. Nobody's ever going to buy a board made in China. If you ever buy a board in China, 90% of the time that board is going overseas, because they're not going to pay for shipping over air, because over air is way too expensive, probably like $2,000, $3,000 more for every 100 boards. So it's better to just ship it over boat. Or there's ocean air where there's a whole bunch of salt, it goes into the wood. Once it goes into the wood, then it's going to start warping or whatever on the boat. You have to know where it's made. If it's made in Mexico, you have dry air there, better for the wood, it keeps everything much more fresher, it's not going to warp as easily, and yeah, you know exactly where it's coming from. If it doesn't say made in Mexico, you don't know where it's made. It could be made in the US, it could be made in Europe, but you can't be 100% sure. It has to say where it's made from. If it was made in China, nobody would ever buy a board made in China because they know that the quality is garbage. Next is the size. Obviously, you need to know the size. So it's 8.000. The reason why they put 3 digits after it, because it could be 1.25, 1.225, 5, something like that. So you have to make sure it could be 8.375. All they do is slap on a sticker and they tell you the size, but you don't know if that's the actual size. You actually have to measure, and this is engraved that it's 8 inches, so it's not going to change. You already know it's 8 inches from here to here, and they actually have the inch marker at the end of the number. So you know it's in inches. It's not going to be some crazy measurements. If it's in China, they use metric systems, so they could be easily messing up your board because they're using metric system. It might be thicker over here and thinner on the end. But this is the first point that you need to look at when first looking at a board. You have to make sure that you know who it's crafted by, where it's crafted by, what mold, and what size it is. And that It tells you everything that you need to know about a board, and you know that it's real by just this one label. So if you see this label, definitely buy that board. So this second board is a completely fake board. It might look real, and I actually know which skate shop this came from, but it is definitely a fake. So just like I said before, what you want to first look at is the label. So right here they have only a sticker placed on it, 825. That is not real. Someone could just peel off the sticker, and now what? You don't know what size it is. See? You just peel it off and now you don't know what size it is. It has to be actually engraved in the board size because it might be warped, it might change. You don't want that. On top of that, they didn't put anything. They just put K. What does K mean? They only put a little K in there. Does that mean the bold K? Does it mean someone created K? Is that the person? Is that the factory? You don't know who made that board. And I could already tell that this wood isn't that strong. And I could guarantee you that this came from China. You know why? This board came from China because you could look and see that there's nothing here that says made in Mexico, made in the US, nothing made. If it was made in any of those countries, they would definitely put a label on it because they would have pride in putting it. Because there isn't 100% fake. If it does not have a label PS sticks, do not buy this board. So the next thing you want to look at is the wood. So for this wood, you can see that there is no middle ply. Most of the time when it comes out of Professor Schmidt's laboratory, they do not put dyes in their wood because it might warp the wood because you're putting in liquid into the wood, which can easily warp the wood. But when you actually look at a piece of wood, you can see that it is actually laminated. It is laminated with lacquer. So when it's laminated with lacquer, you already know it's a real board. When it's a light board like this one, so this is the fake, the color of the wood is very bright, and it's not supposed to be that bright. It's supposed to be a lot more darker because the darker the wood, the better the wood is. And it's a lot skinnier over here. Like the wood over here is actually compressed together, but here the board isn't compressed all the way, and you can see that it's going to completely affect the quality of the board. But here I can see that it's sanding down perfectly, like the edges are very smooth. So for the real board, what you want it to look like, you want it to look like this. You want to make sure it's as skinny as possible, it's compressed as much as possible. But for the fake board, it's like hanging off like this much. And when it hangs off like this much, it's not compressed all the way. It's supposed to be dipped in lacquer, so that way that the lacquer protects the wood from being damaged from weather, water. Let's say this board was made in China and they had to ship it by boat. This wood is already going to be damaged by the time it comes to America where you're buying it, or whatever country you're in, because there's nothing protecting the wood from the moisture in the air, the salts in the air that's destroying this board. It could actually be warped by the time you come into this country. Make sure you buy the skinnier board that has the same amount of plies, but everything is compressed much more better than the board that were made in whatever country it might be made in. So if you guys ever go to a skate shop and you see this piece of wood with the plies that has colored ply in the middle, it could be purple, it could be pink, it could be yellow, it could be green, whatever. If you ever do see plies like this, make sure you do not buy these boards. The reason why is because they only do this in China, and I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because they put a dye into this wood and they thought it was going to make it stronger or something, and they maybe put cheaper wood on the sides. But yeah, definitely do not buy this board if it has a colored ply in the middle. It is not crazy talk, like I personally do not care if it's colored or not, but I could automatically tell that this board was not the quality it was supposed to be when I skated it. So yeah, this is the second factor you could look at, which is the wood on the inside, and making sure you have a comparison of where you have real boards and you have fake boards. The last thing you could do to tell if a board is real or fake is by looking at the grain of the board. So you can see that this board over here, it has kind of a more jagged edges. Like you guys probably can't see on camera again, but this board has more jagged edges, like 1, 2, 3, 4. That means they're using older wood, they're using better quality wood for the boards, because the more rings it has, the stronger the board is. But as you can see on this board doesn't have that many rings. Actually, the rings go from all the way from one end to all the way to the other end of the board. The more rings you have on a board like this one, the harder it is to snap it because the wood is so much stronger than boards that don't have that many rings. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like you could count on your fingers how many there is, but here you can't count how many because there's so many different patterns over here that tells you that this board is 100% made from good wood and it's not gonna snap as easily. Factories might use some good wood, but they don't compress it right, which is why you need the other two tests, which is the label and the actual plies, and see if it actually matches the kind of wood that you need. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to use all three methods that I mentioned in this video to make sure that you're buying the actual real board that you need, because again, there's so many fakes out there, you don't know what you're buying, but these three methods are going to tell you exactly what you're buying and whether it's worth buying or not. It might be a little bit more expensive to buy the expensive board that's actually good quality, but that good quality board is going to make you skate so much better than the one that you don't know where it's coming from. Knowledge is power, and this is what knowledge you need to know to be as a skateboarder so you don't make mistakes as other people do. And if you guys like this video, if you guys have any comments about this method, please leave it in the comments below and I'll get to you guys as soon as possible. Below, leave a thumbs up for my video so it gets pushed out so more people get this knowledge so they don't make the same mistakes as a lot of skaters do. And subscribe if you guys want to see more. And that should be it. I'll see you guys for the next video. Peace out, guys.